you this recording.
Yeah.
So just remind me every day when I start the session
Mm-hmm.
to record this because I tend to forget.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Right. Just mute yourselves. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Like just ping me once. Okay. Fine. So just introduce what is Java is first of all. You all know that we had a concept known as class and object. Class is a collection of variables and methods, or we call it as functions in C. This is the first point we have seen. An object is a real world entity, we say, and it's nothing but object is a memory block for a class, as there is no memory for a class, you can say. Oh, sorry, no one can see the screen, right? So everyone can see the screen, right? Fine. So class is a collection of variables and methods, and object is a memory block for a class, you can say. Okay. And there is a difference between C, C++ and Java. Those differences are nothing but C, C++ are platform dependent. Like, what do you mean by platform dependent? So if you're generating an application in Windows platform, you cannot execute the application in other platforms. Okay. And whereas Java is platform independent. So what is platform independent means? An application can be developed either in Windows, Linux or Mac OS, which can be executed in any other platform. That is platform independent. What's the reason is that C, C++ has a particular .exe file. Like whatever the output file it generates, it is .exe. So what .exe means? Ones and zeros. So this ones and zeros generated by a platform can't be understood by other platforms. That is the reason it's platform dependent. Whereas Java generates .class file. It does not generate .exe. It generates a .class file, which is nothing but a bytecode. It's a separate language. And this bytecode is not understood by every machine. Like if you have Linux is there, Windows is there, Mac OS is there. It's a different machine code required for every platform. So this bytecode is not understood by any of the other platform. So we required a software known as JVM. So what is JVM? Java Virtual Machine. This Java Virtual Machine converts the bytecode to machine specific code. Means we need different JVMs for different OS. Like if you see here, JVM for Linux, we have JVM for Linux, we have JVM for Mac, we have JVM for Windows, Android, So different JVMs are there for different OS, operating system you can say. Okay, so that's the difference between these two. Now, any questions among this topic? If you have any
No.
doubts, you can just ask me now. Okay. Next, this platform dependent and independent is a major difference between the C++ and Java. And we have one more concept known as partially object oriented and fully object oriented. Like, what is the difference between partially oops and fully oops? Okay, so this partially oops is nothing but, suppose I'm writing a class person. In this person class I have void eat, and now if I'm writing a function outside the person, it is void show. If this class is written, there is no memory, so there is no memory for eat also. What we need an object, so we create an object for a person class, we can say. And when you write something outside the class, the memory is allocated directly, like void show, or we write void main, right? For these, memory is allocated directly outside a class. So this void display doesn't depend on object. Only the parts inside a class depends on object. So this is partially object oriented, you can say. This is nothing but partially oops. Example is what? C++. Okay. And coming to Java, if you write a class person, everything must be written inside a class itself. Like either it might be void eat or void main, anything. It must be written inside a class. That is, everything depends on object in Java. So it's known as fully oops. Example, Java. Okay. So this fully object oriented concept, you must follow it in Java. Like you can't write anything, any instruction or a variable declaration outside a class. Everything must be written inside a class. That is fully object oriented programming. Clear? Any doubts, anyone? Now, after this partially and fully, we have one more concept. Like, I'll give you the notes of these things, or I have the recording, I'll forward you the recording also. Is Java pure oops or not? So pure means what? From the start, everything must be an object. It it can be known as a pure object oriented, when everything from the starting represents an object. But in Java, we use int, float, long. These are data types which are being used in Java. And these data types are not objects. That is the reason Java is not pure oops, because of primitive data types. What do you mean by primitive? This int, float, long comes under the primitive data types. Okay. So if you see here, just say, is Java pure object oriented language? And what it's saying? So Java is not, because it supports primitive data types such as int, byte, long. all this. So it is not pure object oriented, but as we said, it's fully object oriented, means everything is converted to object. Like this, primitive data types are converted to objects by using wrapper class concept. So what is this wrapper class? I'll mention this in the future classes at the time of collection. Okay, so at the time of collection, what is wrapper class? It will be clear. Before that, what is the concept we are seeing? It's just that, is Java a pure object oriented programming system or not? And what's the answer? Because of the primitive data types, it's not a pure object oriented, and which are being converted to objects using wrapper class. Okay, now this is the third question we have covered, and mostly we need a software to execute these Java programs, right? For that reason, we have a software known as JDK, Java Development Kit. Suppose if I'm showing you here, so we have a software known as what? JDK, Java Development Kit. And one more thing, inside the JDK we have JRE, like Java Runtime Environment. Okay, so for running this Java program, we need these tools. And here, this Java Runtime Environment consists of JVM, Java Virtual Machine. And this virtual machine, JVM, is used to convert bytecode into machine code. And the Java C is nothing but Java compiler, and Java is an interpreter. So Java is the only programming language which has both compiler as well as interpreter. And we can see that Java is classified into three types. What is the three types you can say? Java SE Standard Edition, and Java EE Enterprise Edition, and Java ME Micro Edition. So what does Standard Edition means? It is used to develop standalone applications or system application. Like for example, consider this MS Paint, this Skype, MS Office, browser, calculator, notepad, wordpad, all these say applications comes under standalone or system application, means which can be used inside this particular system itself. We can't use them outside the system, right? And we have one more thing known as Java EE, like Enterprise Edition, which is nothing but it is used to develop a web application or business applications. Web application means a website, or business application means for every business nowadays we need a website to promote that. For that, we are developing these websites using Enterprise Edition, or in the market you can say it as Advanced Java, and the Standard Edition is known as Core Java. And what do you mean by ME? Means Micro Edition, which is used to develop mobile applications. And we don't see this ME in the market because we have Android or iOS operating systems. So mostly we use Android technology, not the Java ME. Okay, so mostly you will be following Java SE and Java EE. And this Java JDK has some versions like 1.0 to 1.8. As you see, for Android we have versions, right? Like what is that version now used? Lollipop you can say, or the KitKat, or the Jelly Bean. All these versions has a name. In the same way, in Java, the JDK 1.2 has a name known as playground, and the 1.3 has a name known as kestrel. Kestrel is a bird name actually, and the 1.4 is known as menlin. It's also a bird name. 1.5 is tiger. 1.6 is mustang. Mustang means it's a horse, and 1.7 is a dolphin, and 1.8 is a lambda. This lambda is nothing but in the max you have a lambda symbol, right? That particular symbol. And in the market presently we are using only JDK 1.7, which is a dolphin, and every application is developed using JDK 1.7, you can say. Okay, so this is what Java is classified into three types. And what is JDK, the software environment, and what are the version names are there that we have seen. Okay, next, after this you need to know that every programming language has some rules and regulations. Suppose consider I'm writing person. So what is this person? Person is a class name here. So there is a rule for writing the class name also. And this int age. That age is a variable name or an instance variable, you can say. So that for variable name also there is a rule. And void eat. For this void eat also there is a name. That eat is nothing but a method, right? Method name. So for every particular class name or variable name or method name, we have to follow some rules. So we'll consider what is the class name first of all. The class name is nothing but every starting character of a word must be capital. Like for example, if I'm taking a predefined class. Predefined means what? Which are already have been developed. Like here, if I take scanner, this S must be capital because the starting letter is capital. And if we have two words like array list, A is capital and L is capital. So here A is a starting word, starting letter, and the subsequent word is L. So both must be capital. That's the first rule you have to see. And this rule is for the class name, that every word starting letter will be capital. And now after that we have method name. So how can you say a given word is a method or a class? As you will be going to see a lot of different names here in Java. So you should able to identify what is class and what is method. So every method starting word is a small letter. Like here println, the first word starting letter is small letter, and every method ends with a open and close parenthesis. Open and close parenthesis. If you have two words in a method, like consider I'm having get message. These are all predefined methods what I'm writing. Here G is small and the subsequent word starting letter is capital. So the rule is simple. Only the first word starting letter is small and all the subsequent words starting letter is capital. Like suppose consider you have print stack trace, which is nothing but you can say three words, right? So the starting letter is small, print, P small, and the subsequent word starting letter is capital, stack, S capital, and the third word starting letter is also capital and ends with a open and close parenthesis. That is the print stack trace, you can say. Okay, and these two rules are very important in Java. Like you have to identify whatever the new names comes in front of you. Okay, and we have one more thing known as variable name. This variable name here indicates that whatever the name you can take, like here age we have taken, it has some certain limitation. Like in this array list, you don't have any space, right? The get message or the print stack trace, there is no space, because in Java these are all predefined words. So whatever the developer has developed, in the same manner we have to use. So the first thing you have to understand that there is no space allowed between the names. Like if I say int area of triangle, it's a wrong thing. You can't give space between this particular variable. That's the first point you have to understand. But you can use an underscore area of triangle. You can use an underscore or a dollar symbol, but you can't use any other symbol or any space between the name. Either it might be a class name, method name, or a variable name. The spaces are not allowed. So what's the first point you can say? For the variable name, only characters from A to Z or capital A to capital Z are allowed, and digits from 0 to 9. So these digits can be taken only after the characters itself. You can't start with the digits at the first. Like for example, and here one more point is there, like underscore can be allowed, or dollar can also be allowed. Underscore and dollar. And one more thing is there, what? The second point is that if you take int 1, 2, 3 total, it's wrong actually. We can't give the digits first. Compulsory, you can declare the digits later after the characters. So 1, 2, 3, it's correct. This is the first point you can say. Okay. And here the third rule will be variable names are case sensitive. Case sensitive means int number or number. These three are three different variable names. There is no error now because Java is case sensitive. Each and every name is a different variable name, you can say here. So that's the third point we have covered, right? Next, the variable name length can be under 15, not greater than 15. It's not mandatory, but according to the standards, if you give not more than 15, it will be fine. So it should be under 15. Either this name can be a variable name or a class name or a method name. Anything I'm saying. Okay. And these are the four rules you have to remember. Like the spaces are not allowed. That's the first and the most important thing. People get confused, right? And only characters are allowed first, after that digits. And underscore or dollar can also be used. And these variables are case sensitive, and the length must not be exceeding more than 15 numbers, you can say, right? So these all are the rules of the Java you have to follow for every program. So what's the first thing? Class name. The class name starting letter must be capital for every word, and for a method name the starting letter is small, whereas subsequent word starting letter is capital, like get message and the print stack trace. And every method will end with a open and close parenthesis. These are the two other rules you have to remember. Okay, so after this is the rules of Java. I'll send you these notes after the class. And next, if you want to check whether Java is installed in your system or not, you can check it by using in C drive. There will be a program files. In this program files, you will be having a folder named as Java. So in this program files, Java is a folder which has JDK 1.7 because the version Dolphin we are using now. And in this JDK 1.7 we have bin. So what is that bin? It consists of Java C compiler and Java interpreter. This is the first thing we can say, right? And if you want to like write and execute a Java program, we are doing it in a different manner. Like we can write a Java program in text editor like Notepad, WordPad, or Edit Plus or Notepad plus plus, and we can execute the Java program in command prompt, that is CMD. So we write in text editor, we execute in command prompt. So that's the first thing. Just give me a second. Computer properties, advanced system settings. Suppose we know that Java is installed in program files Java JDK 1.7 and bin, but we have to check whether command prompt can access those particular Java C and Java commands or not. So for that, just you have to type Java C and enter. So it's saying that Java C is not recognized as an internal or external command. Why? Because these Java C and Java are not available for the command prompt. In order to make them available to the command prompt, we use a concept known as path. That is nothing but how to set path. So by setting the path, you can use the particular commands Java C and Java. So there are two ways. One is temporary, another is permanent. So what do you mean by temporary? Like suppose here there is a syntax actually. So the syntax means set path equals to whatever the path you have opened here, just copy that. See here, click on the address bar, copy this and paste it here, semicolon. Where we have to do this? In the command prompt. Here just path, set space path equals to whatever you have copied, paste it here and give a semicolon. So when you give the semicolon here, just enter. So what will happen? Now again, if you type the Java C, if you just type the Java C, now you're getting the options. Whereas previously it was Java C is not recognized as internal or external command because the path was not set. Now after setting the path, you can access the commands. That's the first thing and the first advantage of this setting the path. But what do you mean by temporary? Temporary means what? It's only applicable for one command prompt. If you consider here, if I'm opening again another command prompt and just enter Java C, saying Java C is not recognized as an internal or external command, right? So the temporary is only available for one command prompt, not for all. So in order to make it permanent, we have to set the path permanently. So how can you set the path permanently means just you have to go for start. In this start you have computer. In this computer right click and say properties. So this properties will have an option. So what's that option? You can say advanced system settings. In this advanced system settings you have environment variables, and this environment variables, you just click it, you'll get user variable for home and system variables. Don't touch that particular system variables. Just in the user variables for home, click on the new button, say write down the variable name as path, and whatever the path is there here, we are copying the entire path and paste it in the variable value. In the variable value, only the path C program file Java JDK 1.7 and bin. Give a semicolon. That semicolon indicates the end of that instruction, and after that instruction you can give any other particular instruction. Okay, other instructions you can give. So just click OK, OK, and again OK. Now if I type again Java C, it will say not recognized because already the command prompt was open and we have modified it, right? For that reason, close the command prompt, open it again and just say Java C. So if you want to check it again, you can say Java C. So what's happening? Now the path is set permanently so that you can access from any particular command prompt. It is available now. That's the first thing you can say. Okay. So this is what, how to set path. There are two ways. One is temporary, and what is the second way you can say? Permanent. So for permanent, how you have to follow? Just here, how to set path. So how you are setting the path? The Java home also can be taken, but mostly you can prefer only path. It is better. Instead of path, you can say Java underscore home also. Okay. And now how to go for the permanent thing? Start, computer, right click on the computer, select the properties, advanced system settings, environment variables, user variable. In that new, in the variable name you have to give the path, in the variable value that whatever the path you have selected, and the semicolon, and just click OK and OK, right? So after this class I'll send you a particular Java software and just try to install the JDK 1.7 and set the path for the check for temporary and for permanent also. Okay, so now this is how to set path temporary and permanent. After this, we have to know how to compile and run. So basic thing is nothing but how to compile and run. So for compile we have a syntax. What is syntax you can say? Java C Java C space file name dot Java. Example, if first dot Java is a file name, we can compile by using Java C space first dot Java. So this is how we compile, we can say. And second thing is that Java C space first dot Java. If multiple files are there, how you will compile? First dot Java space second dot Java, like give the space and give a file name, give the space and give a file name. But if I want to compile all the particular classes in a .java file, then we can use a command known as javac space star dot java. Javac space star dot java for all the particular classes in a folder. We can use this syntax. So there is a note point actually. What's the note point? When we compile the .java file, then dot class files will get generated. Means in a first.java, if we have three classes, can you all hear me? I said saying now you can you hear me? Abhishek? Yeah, fine. Just an audio disturbance I think. Fine. So till now what I have said, it's clear, right? Like how to set path and compile and run.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine. So you
It's
can interact
clear.
me through this chat. Like if you ask any question, you can just ask through this chat, or I'll just say yes and no if you understand or not. Okay, all of you.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
So now when we compile the .java file, then .class files will get generated. So if a .java file has three classes, then three .class files will get generated. If a .java has 100 classes, then 100.class files will get generated. So how to check those things, we'll see. I'll just show you a program how to compile and run. And this particular run syntax is there, like here you can use java space class name. People tend to confuse between file name and class name. See that clearly? When I say compile, you have to use file name. When I say run, you have to use class name. There's no confusion, right? So now, for example, if I say test is a class name, then we can run by using java space test. If this test inside first.java, then every time you have to run by using this test class. Okay. So how we compile and run, we'll see. In D drive, I'm creating a folder like program or programs. I'm creating a folder known as what? Programs. So it's an empty folder, right? Now I'll open a notepad. Because it's a text editor, you can write the Java program. I'll write a class known as test. So if I save this thing, I'll save it in D drive, a folder known as programs. And every time remember that when you save the file, the extension will be .java. So here I am saving the file as demo.java. See it clearly. Here the file name is demo and the class name is test. Don't get confused. So when you compile here, first what you have to use? Java C space. What is the file name? Test or demo? It will be demo.java. Right. So here demo.java. But that file demo.java is not in C users and home. It's in the D drive programs folder. So you have to go there like D colon to change the directory, and from one folder to another folder if you have to go, you have to use CD change directory to programs, CD space programs. So now Java C space, what is that file name? You can say demo.java. Before that, you can check whether the file is present or not by using dir. What the dir is nothing but the directory files. So it's a demo.java is present in this particular directory, which is of 18 bytes. Now how to compile? Java C space demo.java. So when you compile what I said, it will generate a dot class file. So there was only test, so test dot class file got generated. And now if you see here, the class person is there and the class student is also there. So total how many classes now? 3 classes are there. So when I compile now, here Java C space demo.java, 3 classes will get generated. See here, person is 1, student is 2nd, and test is 3rd. So totally 3 dot class files got generated. Okay. Now how to compile and run we have seen, but how to run? Among these 3 classes, which class we have to run? Suppose consider I am saying Java space test. If I run test, what's it error it's giving? Main method not found. That is public static void main string args. This entire thing is a main method. Okay. So who runs our program or executes our dot class file? Just text me like here in this chat. Just let me know who executes our dot class file. Yes, JVM. So what JVM will do? Convert the bytecode into machine code, right? So the JVM is searching for this method, public static void main. If you see, we have 2 more classes, person and student. I'll say just Java space person. Again the same error. Java space student. Again the same error. It indicates that when we are running the class, That class must and should contain public static void main string args because JVM is searching for that method. And why JVM is searching? It's nothing but in C language we have seen that void main is written. In C++ we have seen void main is written. And in Java also we are seeing that void main is written. Because void main is the start of program execution. Like everywhere that void main indicates the start. So for that reason you can write public static void main in any class. So you have to remember this point. In a .java you can have 100 classes but only one class which consists of public static void main. That's the most important thing. These are all standards. Why we are having the standards? So that we can use the OOPS concept fully. Java is the only programming language which follows all the OOPS principles. So for that reason we have to follow the standards here. Okay. So if I have that public static void main here in this test, public static void main string args. So where is that public static void? In only in test. Now tell me which class we have to run now? Is it test, person or student? Right. So every time you have to run test. So Java space. So before executing you have to compile again because we have modified the code. So demo.java is the file name. So here file name is demo and Java space test is the class name. So we haven't written anything. That's the reason it's not getting executed. Right. So this is a basic thing we have completed. That a .java can contain n number of classes but only one class can contain the public static void main. This is the standard. And now here the file name and class name are different. We can compile and run. There is no issue. But if you see, if I just added public, so what this public indicates? Actually, it's a keyword, an access specifier. If you consider, we have public keyword and we will be also having private keyword. Two things will be there. Consider there is a company, private company. That company will have a bus, private bus will be there. So who can board this company bus? Only the employees in that company can board. No other person can board it, right? So that's a private thing. So if you declare anything as private, that private is usable only till that particular class. It can be used only in that class itself. And whereas public means like your RTC transport, APS RTC, anyone can board that bus, the public transport you can say. So public is nothing but universal. If you are declaring anything as public, it can be accessed from anywhere, any class we can say. Okay. And when you declare that class test as public, now if you compile you will get error saying that class test is public, should be named in a test.java. Means whenever the class is declared as public, the file name and class name is must be same. Like if I say java space demo.java, what it's saying? Class testing public should be declared in a file named as test.java. So this rule is only applicable when it is public. Suppose if I just remove this thing and if I just give you to compile and run, now it will be fine. There is no error, right? But just when I declare the class as public, the entire scenario changes. It gives error saying that class test is public, should be declared in a file named as test.java. So you have to understand that this rule must be followed when only class is public. And we make sure that every time whenever we write the public static void main, that class we declare as public, because in advanced Java it will be useful. Okay. Now you can't declare the class as static now, but in inner classes concept you can declare the class as static. What is static? Tomorrow I will say. So the static can be given to a method, a class, a particular variable, or a block. But for a class you can declare the static only in a inner classes concept. Inner classes is nothing but class within a class. So in future you will see that concept. Okay. So how to solve this problem? So anyone, any other doubts? Like file, save it as what now? Test.java. The T should be capital because it's case sensitive. So T capital means here also it should be capital. So how to compile now? Java C space test.java. So if you compile, it's getting compiled. Java space test, it is getting run, right? So how you indicate that? It's nothing but public is given, then file name and class name must be same. That's it. Nothing. Clear?